Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, everybody can do it in the room, okay? But especially the credit students, is that I would like you in one sentence to write your life's mission statement. I mean, it can be a Pauline sentence. You just got to know how to use semicolons and colons. Just in one sentence, the mission for your life, which basically says, what are you committing to use your resources for? If you could all just write that down, and then I want to hear what they are.
Can we turn it in by December?
No, but you still owe me a homework. Speaking of homework, you do still owe me one. Who else? Helena, I didn't get your homework either. The brief mission statement is I got to do all my homeworks. But I didn't. Oh, it is? Great.
They don't have to share it if they don't want to, because maybe everyone likes to share their,
Yeah, when I call your name, you'll have the option to either pass or tell us your mission statement when you're done. But I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it. It's not easy to reduce the entire scope of your life into one sentence. But that's what a mission statement does.
If you've never written a mission statement, of any kind, raise your hand. You've all written them before? Okay, so you haven't? Okay, good. So they can do this. You can do this.
Andy, give us your mission statement.
Okay, so I got this verse. Okay. This is about Luke 2:52. Jesus increased in wisdom, stature, and in favor with God and man. And that covers mentally, physically, spiritually, and relationally. It's very all-encompassing.
Luke 2:52.
I got a verse. It's 2 Timothy 2:9, and it says here, who has saved us and called us. The first part is already done, and now the part as a Christian is called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Jesus Christ before the world began. So whatever that purpose that God has for me in eternity, to discern that and to live it in grace.
Nice. Bible verses here. Go ahead, Pastor Devendra.
And this could be without quoting a Bible verse also,
yes,
right?
You don't have to quote a Bible verse.
Yeah, so to live a life pleasing to God, progressively growing in my walk with the Lord Jesus Christ, fulfilling my calling as a husband, father, and a pastor, evidenced by a continually dedicated personal study and obedience to the scriptures.
Mine is knowing God by studying His Word and obey it and let Him know to people.
One more time.
Knowing God by studying His Word and obey His Word and let Him know to people.
Jujana.
Yes. So I have a very simple one. I don't know, I can say it in a sophisticated way, but I'm saying it in a simple way. Just give away the faith. Like it's John 3:16. So I'm just thinking in this way.
Uh-huh.
Or bring forward the faith and give to the next generation, teaching the kids.
So I wrote down growing in grace and truth, and then bringing the gospel to the lost wherever Christ leads me, and disciple women and children within the context of the local church.
Nice.
One of the sad verses in the Bible, 2 Timothy 2:21, for all seek their own, not the things which are of Jesus. And I remember I read that maybe 9 years ago and just realized that I was like that. So my mission statement would be something like this, to grow in grace so that my life will be wholly available for the kingdom and to continue to seek His will for my life.
Reaching people with the gospel. That's it.
To live fully in all the roles that God has called me to occupy, as a father, as a husband, as a pastor, and a member of the community. For me, there are two life verses that I really believe are personal to me. That's 1 Timothy 1:12 and also Ephesians 4, verse 15. Especially the part that says to grow up into the fullness of Christ.
Okay, my mission is to coach and train adults who need help, or it could be also children, but who need help in finding their true identity and purpose in Christ, and who need functional skills to succeed in life.
I have to bear fruit and glorify Christ.
I will live wherever God says and teach grace to those who will hear me.
It's nice. Live wherever He says and teach grace to whoever will hear me. That's great.
Okay, mine. To be available for God wherever He wants me and whatever He needs me for.
Oh, and VJ. Sorry, we overlooked it. It was not intentionally.
To be a team member and a teacher on a mission field, to encourage and evangelize people.
Awesome. I thought of Colossians 3:17. All right, whatever I do in word or deed, that I would do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks unto the Father. But that's great. So it's such a healthy exercise that we would be able to reduce all that we're doing into a mission statement. And of course, for your school, that's going to be an important thing, and it's a great exercise. I'm going to move on to now that we've decided we're going to start a Christian school, we're going to count the costs. And yeah, what will it mean to start a Christian school? And do we have what it takes? We know, okay, God is leading us, God is calling us, but you know how it goes. Not always do you have a clear yes, no. We're left, sometimes the Lord is not so specific like that, and we count on, we move forward, and I think this is a key when you have something in your heart and you think that maybe God would have us do this, you begin walking in that direction and see what happens. You walk by faith we're not afraid to consider anything that God could have. It could be absolutely impossible, but we can find out what if God is really in it by taking some steps in that direction. Excuse me, and that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. As if we really sense that maybe God would like us to start a Christian school. And that's all we know, for the kids in the church, for the kids in the community, that God would like us to start a Christian school. So here we go. So the first thing is is the facilities that we have. These aren't necessarily in any particular order, but just the general things that you have to think about. Schools take a lot of space. Okay, and you have to think, okay, we're going to have a school. How much space is it going to take? What kind of space do we need? Here, I mean, it's unthinkable. Around the world, it's unthinkable to do school where we have school here on the plaza in GGCA. Right? Our high school kids, from the time they are in 9th grade till 12th grade, do not see the light of day in their classrooms. And many countries, you couldn't have a school, but because there's great freedom for churches in America. And if it's a church school, then for them to touch the church school is to touch the church, and government can't touch church. It used to be that way. Things are changing a little bit. It would be unthinkable. But also you can say, really? I thought it was impossible to have a school with no windows. I thought it would, sorry, we don't have any space. Why? Because all we have is a basement, and there's no windows. I can't have a school. Well, really? Maybe you can. I'm just saying maybe you can. And of course, there's ventilation, and Pastor Canino, actually, I think, the drawings, the building permits, the whole thing, to do the school down there. So that's why this question, anything will do. And actually, you can basically do school. I mean, Pastor Sam had, what's the situation with your, here, give him that microphone, honey. Your school, tell me about, the conditions that you had school in, and best case, worst case.
Okay. Worst case was this. We still use the same thing. We have a temporary structure that is built by iron sheets. I don't know here how you call them.
Like corrugated steel?
Yeah, all around it. And so, of course, no windows, no doors. What we do with the benches is that we get timbers and put one pole here and put another pole here and put a timber on top, and that's a table. And we do the same thing for the seat. And that's the scenario, the worst scenario that is there.
How many kids in a class?
Like about 20, 25 in one class setup, yeah. And is it a blackboard here? I don't know how you call them.
Blackboard, yeah.
Yeah. We sometimes maybe shift it from one class and have another one there and then change it and, stuff like that. Of course, there is nothing like the floor has no floor, of course. It's just mud.
Mud floor?
Yeah, mud floor.
No windows?
No windows, no doors.
But there's holes?
Yes. And they leak too. The iron sheets, they do leak.
It gets heat, a lot of heat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
When it rains, we remove the children from there and then take them somewhere. And then when it stops, then we bring them. But again, it's muddy.
Okay, what's the best case scenario?
We are just putting up. We finished one block, and it's well built. It has windows, has doors, and has a floor. That's one block that we have. And that can have, one classroom can have about 50 children.
50 students?
Yeah, 50 students, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what is there as of now. But we are using both. We have the other case and we have also this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so it can be simple. I know in Nepal the structures there can be extremely simple. And I know in Mumbai, the school is beautiful. I actually haven't been there, but I know this. Yeah, a very beautiful building and very good facilities, purpose built. right? Built for it to be a school. Yeah, Vijay.
In Bangalore, the Christian school is like it's a big 3-bedroom house that's just rented.
Uh-huh.
And then like the whole thing it happens in the house.
Yeah, it's a 3-room. Did you say a 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and in China, it's a 4-story like townhouse, 400 square meters, and and there's that's where school is. So, yeah, so facilities, safety, of course, and we're concerned actually about safety. 4 floors means stairs all the time. Open stairwells, you got to close them. You have to do things because there's children in these, and children aren't always the most prudent. And then security, of course. I think about neighbors, who has access to the kids, and the kids need to be protected. So not only safety, slip, trips, falls, but also security, because not everybody loves children, and not everybody wants the best for them. And then, of course, if you're in a market, like I say, a market, like if you're in your school is competing with other schools for students, then the old adage, location, location, location. When you're looking for a school, the location is going to be very important in terms of who can get there, how can they get there, is it accessible, is it in a good neighborhood, and all those things are all important factors. Okay, teachers and staff. I want to have Paula talk about teachers and staff, don't I, honey? Sweetheart. Oh, you're going to talk about it later. Okay. So I'm not going to say anything really about teachers and staff. We'll talk about that later. Students, I will talk about students. Okay. So you say, like, okay, so we're going to have a Christian school. Who are our target families? We already talked about the in-reach, outreach school. What are the target areas? What are the target grades? What grades do we want to have in the school? Because grades determine facilities, and also grades determine teachers. How many students per class? Because that will determine how big the rooms are. You're going to limit your number of students by the size of your rooms. And then the digging wells. And here's a good question. Okay, Pastor Stan, how do you, when you think about, like, we're going to do something, do you like dig the well by faith and let's let God fill it? Like, expend your resources up front, and then God fill the well? Or do you wait to find out if it's going to work before you expend your resources?
Somewhere in between. I think I've done both. I think sometimes we've done things where we've like just said, okay, well, we're going to do this and have, those have always seemed to work out. Mostly, maybe not always. Okay, not always, but mostly. Maybe I should do that more. But then other times, maybe like have it gradually work in and go little by little and see, because maybe I'm afraid that I'm not sure that God has said do this.
Yeah. Well, especially when it comes to risk, right? You don't want to risk unless God really calls you to. And if God calls you to, then you'll do it. But if not, then you take maybe the other way. Yeah. I know, again, in China, only because it's a fresh idea, Like, you can't start a school, the parents aren't going to commit themselves to the school unless you have one. But you don't want to have one until you got the kids. But you're not going to have the kids until you have the school. So what do? If you're going to have a school, you get the building. The school comes first. Got a beautiful building, got to have the sign on there, empty, no kids enrolled. What happens if they don't come? you start a team house, yeah. Yeah, start a team house. Yeah, who knows what the Lord wants to do with the building? Clearly, He doesn't want to have a school. Yeah, you can take that. So that's what that about digging wells from Genesis 28. You dig a well, and the Lord will fill it. There's a song about that. Okay, here's another thing: the market. Okay, you have three elements that you're going to be thinking about when you look out into the people whether you're in a city, and of course, the bigger the city, the bigger the opportunity. Typically, because more people the demand goes up. But the first thing you have to estimate, and all of these are estimates, right? You don't know. You're going to trust someone's opinion about it, or you're going to do some research and find out about this. But the first one is, are people looking for a Christian school? And if they are looking for a Christian school, how many? Or are people looking for education in general? In Budapest, they weren't looking for a Christian school. They were looking for an American school. And the one that was available was a Christian one. So the demand, we found out the demand was in the international community, but the demand wasn't in the Christian community necessarily, though some missionaries did come in those early years. So are there people looking for a Christian school? You got to estimate the demand. The second thing is, are there other schools already operating? You have to estimate the supply. Like, am I the first school and people can't wait to go to a Christian school? Or is this like the 10th one in the city? And they're all full or they're all empty? That'd be the worst sign. If they were all full, then you could still think, there's still demand. If they're all empty, you don't want to start a school. Not if it depends on the market. If you're independently wealthy and nothing depends on the market, and you can open a school for 3 children, and that you could do that. Of course, the church could do that. The other thing is, what are the schools offering in terms of a program? Like, are you competitive? Is it apples for apples? And then, what is the price of their program? Because if you could say, wow, they have a Christian school and they're charging $5,000 a year. That's amazing. We could charge $5,000 a year. But they're charging $5,000 a year, but they have sports programs and a full music program, and they got a lot going on for $5,000. And you got like a 3-bedroom house in the country, with a rope swing, a tire hanging off of a rope, and that's the playground. Like maybe 5,000 is not going to be the number you're going to use for your school, because let's face it, you gotta set your tuition somewhere. Again, unless you are donor supported, or which would be awesome, if you could be donor supported, or the school in Hungary, the national school in Hungary, because there are 2, the Kadish Christian School and then GGIS. Kadish Christian School is a fully accredited, fully state licensed school, and they receive a normative amount of money for every student. It doesn't support the whole school, but it's a big part of their budget. So that helps. GGIS, because it's an international school, it's not a Hungarian school, there's no support, so it's completely tuition supported. So clearly, choosing your tuition amount is important. And when you think about that, it's kind of cool, because so you look at the supply, like how many schools are there? What are the prices of the school? Well, you have to ask yourself the question: if my school is like cheaper than all of them, is there still, even though there's 10 schools, is there still a big demand for this one? And that's a judgment call. You don't know, because not everybody's making decisions because of the cheapest one. And there's also the other side of that is, if you say that you are the cheapest school, that's what everybody thinks. You're the cheapest school, so I'm not going there. So the market thing is a little bit of mind game and a prayer thing and a multitude of counselors and trying to figure out what is the demand and what is the supply, because we're going to be tapping into the demand and we're going to be adding to the supply, and then what should our tuition be? Because all of those factors are going to determine this next thing. Okay, here's what I would like you to do. Yeah, go ahead, VJ. What?
Sorry, you said something like international school. What makes an international school compared to like a national standard?
Okay. Typically, an international school is an English language school, and the students that go to this school are expatriates. There's nationals that go, but they're entering into an expatriate world when they do. Like we have Hungarians in our school, but when they come to our school, they're not learning Hungarian, they're learning in English. And the people in their classrooms are not all Hungarians, they're just the opposite, you know. So, yeah, international school. Typically, international schools work in embassy cities. Yeah, where there's a big international community. You know, they could work elsewhere. I'm not saying it only works at an embassy city, but that's the place that you would think about an international school. Yeah. So just talking about, now we're talking about money. Is a Christian school financially viable? You know, if you open a Christian school and say, oh, this is going to be awesome. Do you know how much a Christian school, you know how much they pay in an international school? We're going to make so much money. And then every student becomes money. And the whole thing gets kind of sour. You got to fight the urge, every urge to look at children like money. Oh, we need more money. Let's get more students. It's like, what is the mission? To make money? And I believe that if you're fulfilling your mission and your mission is from God, that God will provide the finances to make it happen. It might not be easy, and it might come from miraculous sources, not from tuition. I'll tell you a story. So the school in Budapest had we bought a building for the church. As soon as we did, we went from 196 students down to like 160. Like we lost like 35 students. When that happened, our budget, like all of a sudden we were like, had money enough that we could get a loan and buy a building for the church. No weight on the church at all. All the school responsibility. It was such a cool thing, you know. Then it happens. Doug Brooks, you know, amazing Doug Brooks, who's our CFO and our trustee. He was the managing director. So Doug Brooks is like, oh my gosh, what is happening? We're like cutting costs, and we're like taking out bridge loans to get us through the summer. Because if you have a school, you know there's no income all summer. You can't wait till pre-registration so that you're like, you know, I barely made it through the summer. And then tuition start coming in again, and you have money again. So we were living like that, and Kadis, the Hungarian school, needed money. They said, you know, we're like dying. Do you have any? If you could give us $10,000, you know, we could pay all of our teachers and we could get through the year, you know. Well, $10,000 to Kadis was a huge amount of money. $10,000 to GGIS was not such a huge amount of money, you know. I mean, there was a couple more zeros, you know, in the thing. So I went to Doug. I said, Doug, let's help Kadis out, you know. He said, no, we don't have any money. I said, what do you mean we don't have any money? We got money. He said, yeah, I know we have money, but it's committed. Like you can't spend it because we got to use it to get through. I said, Doug, come on, we're gonna die anyway. We're gonna die anyway. I felt like who are those the lepers, right? That went into the camp, right? We're gonna die anyway. Let's give it to him. So he said, all right, hey, okay, let's give him the $10,000. So we gave him the $10,000. They were very happy. Joe Circatello was the principal. There's a guy. His child was a 5-year-old, and she was in kindergarten in our school. The dad heard that we were having some financial troubles. The dad came into Joe and he said, hey, I heard you were having some financial troubles. Let me tell you a story. This is like the day after, you know. Let me tell you a story. When my wife was pregnant with our daughter, they told us our daughter was going to be born very, very sick. And we prayed and we said, God, if she would be born, if you would heal her and she would be born well, that we would give to your work. And they said, you know what? Our daughter was born healthy, and we've never given. And now I think it's our time. They wrote a check for $80,000. And they wrote 5 of them over, and without them, the school never. You say, oh, the school paid for the building, you know, for the church building. The school didn't pay for the church building. It was God's miraculous hand that made it all happen. So it's not all about the numbers and all of that, but on the other hand, you know, we always say that until the Lord tells us to do the miraculous, you know, we have to live responsibly. And that's that balance, you know. You just don't take your congregation or a whole group of people and just launch off a cliff and say, it's okay, he's going to catch us. And then, you all just land on the bottom of the valley. Say, oh, well, gee, you know, God didn't do it. Well, maybe you weren't led by God to do that, you know, especially if you're going to deal with a lot of people's lives, like in a school. So here's what I want you to do. I would like you all, quickly, it's going to take 2 minutes. I would like you to write the 5 variables that you think are the most important financial variables in your budget, your annual budget. What are the 5 most important variables, or the 5 biggest variables? Some of you already know because you run schools, and some of you don't run schools and you're going to be guessing or just thinking about it. The 5 most important variables for a school budget. You're starting from 0, from 0, or which 5 most important line items on your budget? Okay. Pastor Pete, what's 1?
I'm not sure if I go in the right direction, but numbers. I mean, how many kids?
How many kids? Enrollment. Right. And how do you know? It's like right off the seat of your pants, right? You're going to do the best you can. Numbers. I mean, enrollment. That's 1. Another one? Yes, salaries. Right? What is the staff going to cost? So that also rolls into the numbers. Numbers relates to teachers. Teachers relates to salaries. It's good. Yeah, Helena. Yeah, like Pastor Homeboy said, yes, the rent, utilities, just the overall building costs, facilities. Yeah, curriculum. Yeah, so books, supplies, materials. Yeah, it's usually not the biggest piece of the budget, but it is substantial. And we use a number of about $200 a student. Yeah, I think GGCA is maybe at $150 or something like that. Okay, so materials. Taxes, yeah. What? And some countries charge a lot of taxes. Our attitude has been, pay as many taxes as you possibly can. And what I mean by that is, you can live in the black market so easily. You can have parents paying you cash. Especially if you're dealing in countries that are socialist countries where the governments are like way taking lots and lots of taxes. it's a hugely beneficial thing to just live in the black market. But my philosophy is pay as much tax as you can. Sometimes you can't help it. Your garbage man won't come if you don't pay him under the table. He's just saying, sorry, your driveway's too long. It's going to cost you some money. All right, here's the money. So you have you pay him something, But generally, we pay taxes because we submit to authorities, we give to Caesar what is Caesar's. And some have an attitude like this: well, I do give to Caesar what is Caesar's, I just don't let Caesar decide how much it should be. Because Caesar's too greedy. Okay, well, there's one other variable. So the number of students, tuition. No, tuition, that's the answer. That's the biggest one, right? Number of students and what's your tuition going to cost? Because tuition is, you raise your tuition a little bit too high, and it affects you in if people are going to come or not. Because people are value shoppers. Especially if they don't have a lot of money, they're going to be looking at every penny. So tuition. Those are the major ones. Yeah, Elena.
Donations come under the miraculous?
Most, no, they don't come out. I mean, yes, they do, but most Christian schools have a development department, right, which is just donations, and that sometimes is the most significant part of their budget, their income budget, and they do. We don't have a development department in Budapest. Here, I don't know, in GGCA, I don't think there aren't any real big fundraisers in terms of friendship banquets or something like that to get people to donate to the Christian school. Yeah.
There's almost we don't know of any school that operates on tuitions alone. We only know ours in GGIS in Hungary. We operate on tuitions alone. But the ACSI people who visit us, they've never met a school that operates on tuitions alone. It's very hard. Usually there's a big donor behind there, or an initial donor, or an initial grant of land or a building, or the city gives you a building. But tuitions alone is pretty hard. So almost every school has to either be supported by their church, like the school here is backstopped. Their LAC is given by the church.
Yeah.
But your building was given to you?
It was, there was something in someone's will that could only ever be used for a school, and he wanted it for a house. We were a school, so we got it for free.
Nice.
How about marketing, advertising?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I thought I had that somewhere. But yeah, marketing and advertising. Of course, I think it was in the slide on children and all of that. That once you decide what group you want to target and what areas and what demographic, then marketing. Oh, and you're talking about as part of your budget, you mean? Yeah. I mean, it could be a lot. Pastor P, what do you have in percentage of your?
My business?
Yeah.
If I was doing it right, it would be
10%. I think that our budget here for marketing, we're at like $7,000 or something, which is very small. Like very small, like less than 1%.
But the biggest expense, what's the biggest expense? By far the biggest expense? Yeah, salaries.
Yeah.
Except
in every school.
Except in many Christian international schools that are founded by mission agencies, most of them, none of the teachers are paid. None of the teachers are paid in these international Christian schools. They're all supported by mission boards. So you can go and work there, but you work your heart out and you support yourself. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. So either salaries are the huge part or they're no part.
Yeah. Yeah, you say, how could I get on that list? to have teachers that come and don't need anything. Okay, so since we're starting up a school, so you would do a 5-year business plan of how it's going to roll out. You could lose money your first year. It depends on what your initial setup is. If you have money, can you endure a lean first year? Can your teachers commit to half of their salary? And what can you do to survive the first years? And it depends on where your business plan is at. But you nail the tuition, you have your enrollment set at a certain amount. I know in Kunming we have it set at a certain amount. It's very conservative, but still you wonder, are the students going to come? You're just praying and believing God, and like on the edge of your seat, it's like a thriller. You're just like, Lord, what's going to happen? It's pretty exciting, actually. So a 5-year plan. If you find out, and if you can put a 5-year plan, who can calculate what's going to happen 5 years from now? So we know you're kind of writing a fiction. It's a little bit of fiction, a little short story. But on the other hand, if you're conservative and you sharpen your pencil and you make good calculations, a 5-year plan just helps you. It helps you know. Where do we think we're going to be, and how are things going to work?
There's a school in southern France. Is there anyone here from the Montpellier Church? You, yeah. So they want to start a school. They've been planning on they've been planning a school for about 4 years now, and they still haven't opened because they can't. They want a plan that's viable, and they don't have one yet. So they're waiting. They're working, they're getting teachers, they're looking for buildings, but I don't know if they're any chance of them opening this fall? No, yeah. So they're very, very patient because they don't want to open and then have to close. That's bad. We almost opened a school in China last year. We came very close to opening the school in China last year, but we just didn't have confidence that we could keep it open. So this year, you can really keep the China thing in prayer. We rented a building. How many desks have we bought? 20 desks. I've just ordered curriculum for 8 middle schoolers and 8 first graders because we're starting with first and second grade. And so we're doing all this stuff. And how many? We have potentially 8 students, maybe? Yeah. So the Plunketts are going for it. They're going for it. They're putting blackboards up and outfitting everything. They're putting in new toilets, the whole thing, internet, and they don't have anybody in the seats yet.
Yeah. Well, we have 7, and it's only June. Hallelujah. Okay. Yeah.
But in the meantime, we have a church and a 4-year graduating Bible college class, and
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. We'll see. We'll let you know what happens there. So then, this faith and sight thing. Like, who really had the responsibility to make this decision or not? And it was Pastor Mike in China. Who can take all these resources and say we're going to go in this direction? It's only leadership that can do it. You don't let somebody else take that responsibility. There's too much at stake. It's too big. The pastor's got to be on board. The pastor's got to be behind it. And then, okay, here we go. And frankly, I'm kind of surprised. I was surprised that Pastor Mike is he's like really, and I'm going with him. So okay, man, you got it. We're rolling. This is going to happen. Okay, so this last point of the fiscal viability is I just would want to make sure that my note is here that most schools with a vision but poor fiscal policies and standards fail because of their lack, because they lack bad fiscal policies, which is business policies. They lack good fiscal policies. And the other is most schools with good fiscal policies and standards but don't have a good mission and clear vision they perish because of their lack. All right, and I'm talking about Christian schools. Christian school needs both. It's a ministry, and you have to see it like this. This is a ministry and a business. It's not like we're out to make money. That's not the point. But it's got to be run with the same kind of vigilance that you would run a normal business. Because things start getting sloppy, you don't know where your money's going, and then you just don't do things above board, or you just don't have a good handle on your budget. We'll finish this portion. I'm going to 5 minutes. So in Budapest, we had we were down, we're at like 185 students now. We were down to 115, 112. And you think about, really, 112? And how do you balance a budget? So we cut salaries 10% across the board. We reduced our square footage we got rid of a whole building that we were renting. I mean, it was like cut, slash. And before we did that, we looked at the budget. We said, oh my gosh, we're not going to make it through the year. And it was told to me, wait a minute. Hey, don't you have faith? Don't you have faith? And oh my gosh, maybe I don't have faith, But you think about 42 employees, 112 students. Lord, if you want to just go and not touch the budget at all, just go forward, then you got to show me. Otherwise, we're going to follow the income curve. Expenses have to follow income. You can't keep your expenses rolling high and your income is going down. You got to follow the income curve. Unless God calls you to, hey, He's going to do a miracle, hallelujah. He did a miracle. He made up the difference. We didn't know. We knew He was going to do it. But you don't take your whole organization and all these people that pay their mortgages and their food and everything because they're working for the school. You don't put it all on the line for some idea that God's just going to catch us, so let's all jump. Because that's good business practice. You follow your income curve. And then you know what happened is that it was like pruning. It was amazing, really. God was incredible because 2 years later, just the graphs started going the other way, And now my son Andy's over there. He's the managing director. Now he's like, oh, so now the expense curve can follow the income curve, Like, let's start spending, So anyway, I said, no, how about reserves? So, okay, so we'll stop there. Paula's going to we'll regroup in about 5 or 10 minutes, okay? And we'll do the finale here on Christian schools.